Bad Mar. Interesting name. Why, TikTok, do you want me to invite strange people to co-host with me? How are you doing? Hello, 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 hello. Some people have these really interesting usernames on TikTok. I'm looking over here at TikTok, and folks have these really, really interesting usernames. Some of them you can pronounce and some you can't pronounce. In any case, I'm going to be burning me some bakur. With a little bit of bakur here. And I find, well, I guess it depends on, hello, blessing, Hamas. Hello from Canada. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. How's Canada? My favorite place on earth. I'm just burning some bakur here. So if it looks like I'm the genie ascending in the smoke, I'm just burning some bakur here. TikTok has this strange thing where it's like invite, it says invite these people to come and co-host, and I have no idea who they are. And I think these are just random people who are passing by. You know how like people are swiping or doom scrolling and they're passing through, and TikTok wants you to grab them and say to them, "Come and co-host my live with me," even though they have no idea who you are or what you're talking about. But I will assume that it's all for a good cause, and that's all for a good reason. Okay. Okay. Hopefully by now I should be looking a little bit mystical behind all this smoke. And looking very spiritual behind all this smoke. So anybody who's watching me will say, "Oh yeah, she's very spiritual." Okay, Blessing says getting closer to the frigid weather again. Yeah. What? It says live restricted for some audiences. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable. Violates community guidelines. Where are the violating which community guidelines? I'm just burning incense. Okay, I'm gonna submit. I don't know why it's saying. Okay, so I'm burning some incense here and I have some smoke going on here. And TikTok said it's restricting it's going to restrict my live because I have are you like serious? Someone got triggered? I'm just burning some incense. You know, this is one of the reasons why I'm not a great fan of these platforms. You know what I mean? Like you will watch some people's content on TikTok, for instance, or Facebook or Instagram, and they're showing body parts, they're doing all kinds of things, They're really showing body parts, okay? And then you are lighting up, and here I am lighting up some incense, and TikTok is there saying, "Oh, you are doing something strange. We're going to restrict, you know, we're going to restrict what you're doing because what you're doing is strange." And all I'm doing is burning incense. That's really, really restrictive. That's really, really restrictive. Okay, let's see. My incense thing fell over. And it doesn't even make any kind of sense. You know what I mean? Someone is burning incense and you're putting a restriction on the person because they're burning incense. Like, what kind of sense that does that even make? And that's why I'm so reluctant to use some of these platforms. So, TikTok is now saying, "Oh, you violated the community guidelines." How did I violate the community guidelines? By burning incense? You know what I mean? Hello, rarest jewel. Ought to be. Hello. It's a predatory Twilight Zone mentality, very anti-sacred system. Yeah, and it's one of wait a minute, I just missed something. One mystical cat said, "I got blocked for collaborating from a report when I lit some herb stick I made." See? See that? Like, it doesn't even make any kind of sense. And you have people who are using swear words. Every other word they're saying is a swear word, and they have hundreds of thousands of views. And you have people showing body parts, and they have hundreds of thousands of views. And you have, just so I'm not even sure how the rules even work. Does it work based on gender? Does it work based on color? Does it work based on accent? Does it work based on, that's like, how does that even work? You know what I'm saying? So, you have folks showing their undies and they don't get restricted, and you might be like, "Oh, let me adjust my bra strap." And the next thing is like you're getting a strike, or "Oh, you violated our community guidelines." So I don't even know. That's why I'm not, like when TikTok sends me all these messages about, "Oh, you need to monetize and encourage people to subscribe to this and encourage people to give you gifts." And I don't. I don't. Because what's the point of me asking people to engage and spend their money on a platform where I don't even know why what happens the way it happens? Okay, so it's random for whatever person gets triggered or some BS, they tag and report you for sitting behind a cloud of incense smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Okay, platforms have too many unrealistic restrictions. But I think the restrictions are not equitably applied. I think that's really the issue. They're not equitably applied. And so, haters be hating. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because I've seen like stuff. I've even seen corn on TikTok, okay? Human, animal on TikTok. Like, I saw that, was it last week or a week before? I was so shocked. And it was the explicit stuff. So it wasn't even the non-explicit stuff. It was real explicit stuff. And I had to start blocking those accounts because what happened was, TikTok sent kind of put one on my FYP, and I was looking at this going, "Is this really what I think it is?" And I looked at it and swiped away, and then TikTok started sending me more. It just started sending me more animal on animal, human on human, animal on human. Oh, really? Okay, so one mystical cat says spiritual folk get tagged a lot. In my experience, and balance is approved. Yeah, it is. And so I don't know why that is. I really don't know why that is. But you know what? We're just going to do the best we can within the confines that we have. We're just going to do the best that we can. Okay. And I notice also that some other accounts that do well are foreign language accounts. Now, I don't know if they get tagged in other countries, but a lot of foreign language accounts do well here in the US. And I think maybe because the software doesn't pick up everything the folks are saying. So sometimes you have people saying really explicit things in other languages, languages that are not English, and the software is not picking it up. You know what I mean? And people are just, you know, you know. But anywho, I hope that you're having a great week. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tochi, Pepper Dr. Tochi, Mama of the men's and the women's. And today I'd like to finish off the topic we were talking about on Sunday. Remember, we mentioned 5 points, and then I want to just quickly discuss the other 2 points and um, move on to something else. So, yesterday on Sunday, we were talking about 7 goals you should have for your spirituality. Okay. So, 7 things you should be targeting for your um, spirituality. Okay. Ought to be. That's why I just went to Patreon. That's why I just said, you know what? I'm going to have an account on Patreon so I can say what I need to say on Patreon without having to be worried about. And now Patreon has started live streaming. They've added live streaming capability so you can actually live stream inside of Patreon. But I am wondering if the censorship will also come to Patreon eventually, because TikTok never used to be like this before. TikTok used to be fun. TikTok used to be fair. It used to be, you could comment on and see a lot of things and learn a lot of things with minimal restriction. But I think ever since they had that deal with Facebook and Google, where they're now being taken over by Facebook or Meta and Google or Alphabet. I don't even know what names everybody's using now. I think Meta and Google are now forcing TikTok to conform to their rules. You know what I'm saying? They're forcing them to yeah, go to the rules. So in order to continue existing. Now, um, platforms like Patreon are independent of that because they tend to be more closed loop system. You have Patreon, then you have the one that the muscle guy opened up last year, which was school, you know. Um and he has been like real assertive about building school. Yeah. So and I'm assuming that within school that people would have more freedom to talk about what they want to talk about. That's my assumption. Okay, but if Patreon, and I think what happens is that, if Patreon gets bought out, then it will have to submit to the censorship rules. If somebody accuses Patreon of something, just like TikTok got accused of something, then of course there's going to be censorship, you know. So you're saying I've noticed many people moving to Patreon. Yeah, I've been on Patreon for over a year, and I put out the advanced material out there, and I've streamed a couple of times on Patreon. I guess I need to do that a little bit more. But TikTok, TikTok has been really aggressive in, anytime I come on TikTok, oh, we want access to your Facebook list of contacts. Do you allow us to have your list of Facebook contacts? And I keep on going, no, 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 no. Then TikTok will be like, oh, can we have access to your list of contacts on your device? And I'll be like, no, 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 no. And then the new thing that started last week is TikTok is now asking for access to Amazon accounts. So it wants to connect to your Amazon account and know what you're buying. And not only will they know what you're buying, they know how much you're spending, and they have more demographic information on the person. You know what I'm saying? And before you know it, now it's going to be one universal sign in. Like now on TikTok, you can sign in using your Google, using I'm trying to remember what other thing you can use to sign. Is it Facebook, Google, something like that? So that they're linked to Google and Facebook. So being linked to Amazon, so if you allow them access to your Amazon, they're basically you're giving them permission to see your shopping history, the amounts you're spending, the kind of things you're buying, and then that will enable them to start populating your FYP with more and more ads. Because I notice now that the amount of ads on TikTok has really increased. It's like you see two profiles and an ad. You see two profiles. Even when you're going through someone's profile. So let's say you went into someone's profile and you're looking at their videos, they still manage to throw in ads in between. So they're now doing what Instagram does. And I find Instagram to be very invasive in that regard. It's like you're trying to see something and you get peppered with ads. And sometimes it's like you have 2 ads or 3 ads being shown to you back to back. So you're swiping because you're trying to see that content creator's content, and they'll be showing you ads. So you swipe again, it's an ad. 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 You know, And I was listening to somebody today saying that the idea behind all those ads is so that they can go to advertisers and say, hey, um, we got all these eyeballs watching your ads. And if we have all these eyeballs, you can get a pretty good return on your investment if you advertise with us. But I don't need to have TikTok know what I'm buying on Amazon. And I don't need Amazon knowing what I'm buying off of TikTok. You know what I mean? That's yeah. Where's Jules? I hate that on IG. Me too. So I really cut down on my Instagram and Facebook because of that. Because like Facebook, you're on your feed. It's like content creation ad, content creation ad, content creation ad, content creator ad, content creator ad, content creator ad. And I notice is not as much overseas. So when I go overseas, um, that frequency or the density of ads is not as high as what we get here in the US. It's not as high. Over here, we're just inundated by it. And honestly, if I could see an alternative to TikTok and all these things, I would take it. Honestly, I would just take it. But the challenge is if you want to reach people, you have to reach them where they're at. And right now it's TikTok. And I don't know how long TikTok is going to be. Because remember, Snapchat used to be the thing some years ago, and now nobody talks about Snapchat. And people have Facebook for, the family. So a lot of people are using Facebook for family things or Facebook is great for conspiracy theories or for impossible stories. You know what I mean? That's what Facebook is good for. People just posting conspiracy theories or impossible stories or um yeah, just selling stories of things that don't happen or don't exist or something. That's what Facebook is for. And so it's even to the point where you have Gen Z saying, "Oh yeah, that's a Facebook story." You might post something on TikTok or somewhere else and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's a Facebook story. Go post that on Facebook." Nobody in their right mind will listen to that, or nobody in their right mind will watch that. That's a Facebook story. And so so actually people's posts can get stigmatized. I've noticed that with the younger generation. So they'll be like, "Oh no, that's a Facebook story." You know what I mean? So if you have something serious to post or interesting to post, folks are not going to Facebook to do it. And I think a lot of them have moved away from Instagram also for that reason, you know. So it's unfortunate. It's just really unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Because it doesn't make sense. You're out here doing your innocent stuff, and then you're getting all these pop-up messages saying, "Oh, you violated this community guideline." For those of you who are just joining, what I'm talking about is I had some incense. I just lit up some incense and it was smoking. And I'm like, "Hey, look at all this, I look like a genie in a bottle." And then something popped up on the TikTok screen that I'm violating community guidelines and therefore my live was going to be restricted. you know, just like that. Okay, Rares Jewel says Facebook is the senior citizen of platforms. Yeah, I just go to Facebook to post uh my content. I don't stay on Facebook or Instagram to scroll through and see what's going on. I really don't. I really don't. I just go there to post content because I'm aware there are some people who still consume content on Instagram. So I will just post my content and get out of there. So I find I spend more time on TikTok because I tend to get more up to date information on TikTok. But now even TikTok is getting played out. So TikTok is going to send you things that it thinks you're biased towards. Yeah, you were just having innocent fun. Love that you were appearing like a genie. Yeah, and I was here saying, "Oh, I'm like a genie," and then TikTok said violation. You're violating community guidelines. Okay, TikTok has gone political for a while now. That's unfortunate. Thank you. I'm living God. Yellow is my color. I like yellow. Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at what some other people are posting and you're saying, okay, so how do these rules get applied? There are people showing up, butt naked. Some people are showing all kinds of things and they're not getting strikes, they're not getting warnings, they're getting hundreds of thousands of views. And then, we're putting out material that can help people in a real way. And it's like you get censored. Like one of my Instagram accounts got permanently censored just because I posted a dream interpretation. What does it mean to have intimacy in your dreams? And I got a strike, and that strike on that account, that account can not be monetized, but they will send me notices. Oh, here, why don't you buy an ad to boost your post and get more followers, and buy an ad to get more views? But you want me to pay you for ads to boost more views. You want me to pay you to get a boost for new views and new followers, but you won't monetize the account. So you want me to be giving you money, paying to boost the traffic on that account, but you will never monetize that account for me. I'm not stupid. I wasn't born yesterday. Okay. So that's why a lot of content creators now are just directly selling on these platforms. If you have a workshop, if you have products, if you have services, if you have coaching, if you just sell it directly. Just forget about their so-called benefits, because it's just too much. It's just too much, you know. There was someone I was watching on TikTok, and they are, if you buy coins, the TikTok coins, and give it to them, a good amount of the TikTok coins, and give it to them, they will help you boost number of followers. So they've made a business out of that. You can pay some people in TikTok coins, and they will help you boost the number of followers that you have. And then if you have up to 10,000 followers on TikTok, then TikTok will give you more privileges, that kind of thing. So it's all a game. It's all a game. Well, anyway, let's get into today's class. I've spent almost 30 minutes just venting and griping about these platforms and their foolishness. So yesterday we started on the list of 7 things, 7 goals that you should have for your spiritual life or for your spiritual practice. Okay. We talked about visibility, being visible to others and to your spiritual crews and to your spirit guides. In other words, having them witness you, acknowledge you, hear you, validate you, instead of depending on people to validate you and witness you, you can get your spiritual crew to do so. Then we talked about peace of mind. A lot of people report that when they start their spiritual practice or their spiritual life, they experience peace of mind. Okay. They have less to worry about, they have less anxiety. Okay. They're not out here in these streets wondering about heaven and hell, or anybody with a pitchfork trying to prod them in the behind. They're not worried about that. Okay. Another goal of spirituality is getting clarity, being aware of your energy field and being aware of the energy in your body, just being clear. And so when there is dissonance in you or in your energy field, you're aware of it. And then you're able to take action. Okay. Then another point we talked about was spiritual power, increasing your innate spiritual power. We mentioned that spirituality will start enhancing, it will start boosting your natural spiritual power. Everybody shows up with spiritual power, some more than others, but you know, when you start practicing your spirituality, you start boosting your spiritual power. And then you find that you don't get overtaken by a whole bunch of things. You have more spiritual power, you have more spiritual protection. If you have more spiritual power, you have more guidance. Okay. If you have spiritual power, your inner authority is strengthened. Your spiritual sovereignty over yourself is strengthened. Okay. You rely more on yourself than you have to rely on external forces. So you don't have to depend on other people to do everything for you. The essential things you can do for yourself, the essential puzzles and problems you can figure out by yourself. Okay. The fifth point we talked about was life destiny. Your spiritual practice puts you on the trajectory to fulfill your life destiny and to know which life purposes help you to achieve your life destiny. And we talked about the difference between life destiny and life purpose. And this is all what we discussed yesterday. So if you missed yesterday's class, you can check out the touching base we had yesterday. So next, so we had two more topics to talk about in this series, and then the next one was boundaries and standards. When you have a spiritual practice, it will help you develop boundaries, what you will and will not tolerate, what you will and will not accept. And it will also help you develop standards. Okay. If you're authentically spiritual, and I'm not talking about performance spiritual, because there are some people who are into performance spirituality. They want to look the part, they want to smell the part, but they're not actually living the part. So they have the spiritual outfit down, they have the spiritual outlook down, they have the spiritual language down, they have all those things down, but they have no fruit. Okay. If you have a standard, the standard works hand in hand with the boundaries. You caught the neighbor next door standing at your door dressed in all white? Ooh. All right. So, boundaries and standards work hand in hand. Okay. When you have an authentic spiritual practice, you have a way you live your life. You just have a way you live your life. Okay. You, um, yeah, you just have a way you live your life. Okay. Your life is no longer a free for all, anything goes. And this might result in some people thinking that you're overly strict. You're not overly strict, you're just disciplined. You're just disciplined. So your spiritual practice will introduce discipline into your life, and it will teach you how to think, and to think critically, and to think properly. I remember when I was very young and I joined a metaphysical order. In some of the material they used to send us back then, one of their stated purposes was to help us develop rational thinking capabilities. And now that I'm much older, because I'm talking about when I was 17, 18, okay? Now that I'm much older than 17, 18, I now appreciate why that was emphasized early on in the study material of that group. There are people, and it took me a very long while to accept this, but there are people who are simply incapable of rational or logical thinking. And if you're somebody who can think rationally, it will aggravate you. You will be upset. You will not be happy because you'll be there saying, they see what I'm seeing? Can't they hear what I'm hearing? Don't they understand what I'm understanding? And the answer to that question is no, no, they're not. And they can't. I gave an example some classes ago where I asked a friend of mine who's a spiritual practitioner to go get a divination done on my behalf about one of my businesses. She said, "Oh, I know this powerful spiritual practitioner who's good at divinations. I will go to him and get a divination done on your behalf." And I said, "Fantastic." So I sent her the fee for it, and she went to go see this man. And then uh, she was blowing up my phone. Pick up the phone, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, pick up the phone. So I pick up the phone. But prior to then, she had also left some voicemail messages saying, "Oh, the guy is saying that there are all kinds of trouble and that he asked me um if you'd like to have a man in your life, if there's a man in your life." And I said yes. And he said to tell you to beware of the man that is coming to you to have intimacy with you. There's a man right there in front of you who is trying to do everything possible to be intimate with you. So I listened to this message and I was confused because my thing is, how do we go from do a divination for me about a business? There's some strange things happening in that business. How do we go from that to trying to be intimate with an unknown person? You didn't even ask if I'm available. You didn't even ask, am I married or not married? Okay. So she did a three-way call. No, it wasn't a three-way call. She put me on speakerphone. She finally called me, got a hold of this guy, put him on speakerphone, and the guy was doing his thing and talking, and he was using all kinds of proverbs and sayings and maxims and whatnot. And he now said to me, "Do you want to get married?" I said, "No." Okay. I said, "No." And he says, "You don't?" I said, "No." And he says, Well, there is a man who is planning to be intimate with you. I said, how interesting. And he said, don't allow that man to be intimate with you. You must do your due diligence. You must do another divination. Once he approaches you and makes his intentions known, you must do another divination to find out if it's safe for you to be intimate with him. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me tell you the problem with the statement. So if my husband comes to me and says he wants to be intimate with me, I have to call this man overseas and ask him if it's okay for me to be intimate with my husband. Do you see how ridiculous this is? And he kept on blathering on and blathering and blathering and blathering and there was nothing in that divination that had anything to do with the business I was inquiring about. And so I said to him, "Thank you very much." I said to my friend, "Can you give me a call once you leave his place?" And she was all excited. "Oh my God. Oh, he's a great seer. He's powerful. He's this and that." And eventually, when she got out of there and I spoke with her, I asked her, I said, "What has intimacy got to do with my business? Whether it's with my husband or some other guy, what has that got to do with my business?" I asked, I made an inquiry about my business. And after it was all said and done, nothing was mentioned about my business. Nothing. Zero zilch was mentioned about my business. And she said, "Well, um, me too, I wondered about it." Okay, so you wondered about it, but you did not interrupt the flow of conversation. You wondered about it, but you kept going along with his line of hoo-ha. Do you see what I mean by rational and logical thinking? She herself is also married. But this man came from a culture or comes from a culture where they believe that the only thing that women desire in their lives, one of the things that they believe and they emphasize that women desire is marriage and children. And once you talk about marriage, children, intimacy, you got the woman. And it doesn't matter anything else she comes for, whatever, it doesn't matter what her problem is, tie it to motherhood, tie it to marriage, tie it to getting a man, tie it to that those are the only real problems that women have. And the law of the women in his culture fall for that. So their problems are not being solved at all because they get sidetracked. There was a young, educated, very educated young lady who came to me for divination, and she was from that culture. And that divination indicated she needed to do rituals for certain specific spirit guides that she had in her spiritual crew. And she was like, "Yeah, I'll get it done." So she communicated that to her mom, and her mom took her to a spiritual practitioner in their culture. And the spiritual practitioner proceeded to tell her about how some witches had tied up her womb to prevent her from having children, and how she needed to do this other thing and that other thing and whatnot to untie her womb so that she can have children. And she called me and I said, "Was that what you were told to do? In the divination you had with me, was that what you were told to do?" And she said, "No." So I said, "So what business do you have with somebody who is clueless about what you need?" And she was like, "Well, I didn't want my mom to be upset. I didn't want my mom to think that I was being obstinate and I wasn't listening. But you are the one with the issue. You're the one with the problem. You're the one with the challenge. How do we go from you needing to reconcile with your spiritual crew and now you're into rituals about your womb and witches tying up your womb? How did you get from point A to point B?" So we find that the ability to think logically and rationally it got hijacked. When you have a strong spiritual practice, a vibrant spiritual life, and you are practicing your spirituality authentically, it'll be very difficult for people to derail you especially when it comes to spiritual matters. A lot of people nowadays are concerned about narcissists. So, how to spot a narcissist, how to identify a narcissist, how to heal from a narcissist, how to deliver clapbacks to narcissists, how to disarm narcissists, how to uh, give narcissists a taste of their own medicine, but nobody is there talking about how not to even cross paths with narcissists in the first place. Why should I spend time learning about narcissists, studying about narcissists, identifying the traits of narcissists, worrying about narcissists, looking for signs of narcissism in others, when if I have boundaries, if I have standards of what I accept, what I won't accept, boundaries, what I will allow and what I won't allow, I don't have to worry about narcissists. Because if I'm aware of my energy field and somebody like a narcissist comes, it doesn't matter how they dress themselves and walk and talk and present themselves, there will be an energy dissonance. There will be a difference between my energy and that person's energy. And if I'm paying attention, I will notice it. And once I notice that that person's energy does not gel with my energy, I will gracefully exit without engaging in the first place. But people are all into, "Oh, I want to know if this person is a narcissist. I want to find out the signs of a narcissist." Do I have to play with fire to know that fire is dangerous? I don't have to play with fire to know that fire is dangerous. I can look at it and walk away. I don't have to go there and try to stick my finger in there to say, "Okay, if I stick my finger in this fire, will it hurt me or not hurt me?" I don't have to do that. But many of us don't even get to that level of realization. Many of us don't even get to that level of realization. Oh, we want to know who the abusers are, who the narcissists are. We want to know who the emotionally unavailable people are. We want to know self absorbed people. We want to know how do you know the 10 identifying characteristics of emotionally unavailable people, the five personality traits exemplified by narcissists. We want to know, and so we want to know all these things and we want to wrestle with them and we want to test people to see if they fit these criteria. How about not even getting involved with them, not even crossing paths with them in the first place? That's what an authentic spiritual life helps you do. If there's a group of people out there in the streets who have the potential to bring ruin to my life, my spirituality should prevent me from meeting them. My spirituality should guide me in ways that prevent me from meeting them or knowing them. I don't need to know them. I don't need to mingle with them. I don't need to see them. They don't need to see me. I don't need to know them. They don't need to know me. But we love stories and we love telling stories. And some of us feed the victim egregore. Some of us feed the martyr egregore. And therefore, we will go seeking out those things that are not meant for us. And all you have to do is to go look at the comment section of people who post content about the soft baby girl life. And you'll see people in the comment section saying, "Oh, God, when? I wish this kind of love could find me. I want this kind of life. I'm designed for this kind of life. You're living my dream." But that her boundaries and your boundaries are not the same. There's a whole bunch of things you're willing to accept and tolerate that she will never accept and never tolerate. That's a reason why she can have that lifestyle and you can't. And this bleeds over to many aspects of our lives. Okay. I grew up in a culture that you have to save every penny. I grew up in a culture where that believes in I can do it myself, even if it is painful, tiresome, and so forth. And so it took me many years to realize why I would show up at the airport and I'm struggling with all my luggage and no one is coming forth to help me. If I'm at the airport by myself without my family or friends, or if I'm not there with my protocol guys, it took me a long time to understand why is it that I'm here trying to pull and struggle with all this luggage and nobody's trying to help me? Because that level of operation was what I was vibrating with. That's what I was in resonance with. I'm strong and I can do it myself. And so by the time I struggle with my luggage and get up to the ticket counter or struggle with my luggage, away from the baggage carousel. I'm already dirty, sweaty, irritated, aggravated. Maybe my clothes might be torn, my shoes wrecked. I'm sweating. I'm looking a mess. And the other people I traveled with are just looking cool, calm, and collected. And they have people running around them saying, "Can I help you with this piece of luggage? Can I, and people are running forward and trying to help them with this, and they accept it. But I came from societal conditioning that says, oh, why should you pay for someone to help you with your luggage when you can carry it yourself? So why am I surprised that they're looking okay with their makeup perfect and still on point, and I'm looking like a Disney character? I'm out here looking like a Disney character because somewhere in my mind I am saying I have to do it myself. Why should I spend that kind of money? They're charging too much. Why should I pay them to do that? Took me a while to figure that out. Took me many years to figure that out. And I told the story recently of one of my younger brothers. I put out a clip on all my platforms about that experience. He was running through a medical building of multiple floors trying to find free vouchers for parking, for $5 parking. He's like, no, I can get a free voucher. So you don't have to pay $5 for 24 hours parking. Is it worth it to me to be running through 100 or 200 offices trying to find which doctor's office is open so that they can give me a voucher so that I don't pay $5 for 24-hour parking? Oh, you get to save that money. I said to him, sir, I can afford $5. And paying $5 for 24 hours actually is a good deal. Because you go to the airport, you're paying $5 an hour, sometimes $7 an hour. Okay. So, so when he went to go look for this voucher, I just went ahead and parked the car and paid the $5 and went about my life. By the time I saw him again, car was already parked and paid for. So your spirituality helps you to know what is worth defending and what is not worth defending, what is worth having and what is not worth having. Your spirituality knows what makes you secure and what you need to secure yourself against, what you need to worry about and what you don't need to worry about if you are practicing the real deal. I don't have to worry about paying $5 parking ticket for 24 hours. I don't that is the least of my worries. I have higher order level things to worry about. I'm not going to be going through a building of multiple floors just trying to get a $5 voucher. It's not worth it for me. When you have boundaries and standards, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. And I'd like you to take out your notebooks and your pen to write down what I'm about to say. Because there are many of us who need this knowledge I'm about to drop. Okay? Are you ready for it? Are your notebooks and pens ready? Are you ready for it? I want you to write down the next thing I'm about to say. Do I need to wait a minute for folks to get their pen and paper? Is anybody ready for this next point? Okay. Okay. Yendi, yes, Yendi says yes. Okay, good. I'm looking at the YouTube folks. I don't know if it's only TikTok is ready to hear. Trying to see if there's anybody on YouTube. Are there folks on YouTube who are ready to write down what I'm about to say? Well, Miss Yendi, I guess the YouTube folks are a little bit slow, or maybe the internet is a little bit slow. So I just want to make sure that, we're not leaving them behind. You know how they say, leave no child behind? Okay. Okay, I have one person on YouTube saying, ought to be saying, yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, I have another person saying yes. Ms. Joy Amoya saying yes. Okay, so at least we have at least two people on YouTube out of all the people watching saying that yes. Okay, I have a third person, pretty face 9998. Okay. So at least now we have at least three people on YouTube. Okay, write this down. The fact that you were invited doesn't mean that you were actually wanted. That you were invited doesn't mean that you were wanted. The fact that you were invited doesn't mean that you are wanted. Did you get that? The fact that you were invited doesn't mean that you were wanted. A lot of us confuse invitation with desire. And because we don't have boundaries, we don't have standards, we don't have clarity about our fields around us, we don't realize that we're not wanted. But we assume because we were invited that we're wanted. The fact that you were invited doesn't mean that you're wanted. You might be invited for an interview, but it doesn't mean that they want you to work there. It doesn't mean that they want you to be a part of their group. You might be invited to a party, but it doesn't mean that they want to hang out with you. Maybe they just want you to bring your contribution. They want you to bring your money and your gifts. That's all they want from you. But they're not interested in hanging out with you. You might be invited to a conference, a gathering, but it doesn't mean that they want to hear you speak. They may not want to hear your voice. Your voice is not welcome. Your perspective is not welcome. Okay. You're right, ought to be. When you are a spiritual person, you will know off the bat why you are being invited. And you can make an informed decision what to do about that invitation. You can make an informed decision to decide what you're going to do about that invitation. Are you going to honor the invitation or not? If you choose to honor the invitation, how do you choose to honor it? If you choose not to respond to it, you're okay with it, you're not going to lose any sleep over it. There are times people want your energy, but they don't want you. They want the energy you bring, but they don't want you. And that energy could be physical energy, spiritual energy, financial energy, intellectual energy. Have you ever had friends when they have problems, they will call you and they will ask you for advice? They will pick your brain. They will say to you, how can I solve this problem? Can you introduce me to someone who can help me solve this problem? Do you have a product or service you can recommend to help me solve this problem? And once you supply what they need, they ghost you. It's happened to me. So don't feel bad. It's happened to me. Still happens to me. And so when you are a spiritually aware person, you are able to recognize these people and see them when they're coming. And you can decide, do I want to help them or not? Do I want to engage with them or not? Do I want to ignore them or give them audience? What do I want to do with these people? There are people who will invite you to their circles because you have certain gifts and certain talents that they need. But it doesn't mean that they will give you any benefits for those gifts and talents that you bring. So, an invitation doesn't necessarily mean that you are wanted or that you are welcome. Some people will invite you to weddings, baptisms, christenings, birthday celebrations, things of that nature, but they're hoping you don't come. They're hoping you don't come. What they want for you to say is, oh, here, let me send, give me the address where to send the gift. That's all they want to hear from you. Where do you want me to send the gift? They don't want you to be there. And so you have to be so up on your spirituality that when such invitations come your way, your spirit tells you, I know they don't want me there. They are just fulfilling all righteousness. They're just checking the box so that if there's a conversation around this, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, I invited her. Oh, yeah, I sent him an invitation." But they really don't want you there. You're not their spec. You, they don't like your aesthetic. There was a pop the balloon uh, video that I saw. The young girl that came out, I shouldn't even say young girl, it was a young woman. She was very accomplished. She had a tattoo on her thigh, but well dressed, well put together, very accomplished. And the young men who were standing in line to meet her were popping their balloons. And when the camera showed these young men, they were looking like street ruffians. Shorts, sneakers, oversized sneakers. One of the young men, he was asked, "Why did you pop your balloon when you saw her?" And instead of him telling the truth, which was, "She's way above my pay grade," he's like, "Oh, I don't like her aesthetics." And his whole body was covered with tattoos. He had tattoos on both arms, both legs, up to his neck, wearing oversized shorts, oversized sneakers, t shirt. And he looked at somebody who was more accomplished than he was, better dressed than he was, and said, "Oh, I don't like the aesthetics." We need to understand that there are people who see in us oftentimes what we don't see in ourselves. And that young lady was asked, "Well, what do you think about him?" And you could tell she was thirsty. You could tell she was thirsty for approval. And she was willing to dim her light in order to be accepted. And she's like, "But you're handsome. You're a handsome man. You're handsome." She wasn't even fighting for herself. And the reason why she wasn't fighting for herself is because there were no boundaries and no standards. She would accept anything. As long as it had a penis, she would accept it. But when you are authentically spiritual, your spirituality wouldn't even let you show up on that kind of show in the first place. So you will have no business crossing paths with those kind of men. Your spirit will say to you, that is not where you need to be. So the issue of having a ragamuffin reject you doesn't even come into play because that's not the kind of place you go to. You go to places where you meet men or women who are at your standard or above your standard and who don't feel threatened by you and are willing to raise you to their level if you are below their level. Okay. The seventh point, the seventh goal of your spirituality is connection to networks. When you are spiritually active, and this is kind of related to the boundaries and standards, you have the ability to plug into the right networks, plural, for you. You attract the people you need. you attract the circumstances you need. You become an attractor. And when you go, you don't have to justify yourself. You go, you fit in. It's a plug and play. Plug and play. Plug and play. Plug and play. When you are a spiritual person and you're practicing spirituality that is authentic for you, you will find your helpers, and your helpers will find you. You will speak to one person, and that person will connect you to someone else. You will sit in your room or yeah, you will sit in your room, in your space, and you say, I have a need of this. And you get up, you walk out your front door, and almost like a miracle, you will plug into the network, spiritual or physical, that will give you that thing that you're looking for. Oh, I need a divination. You be led to the right spiritual practitioner. Oh, I need to learn how to use AI. You'll go online, and within minutes, the right AI program will come to you. And it happens quickly. There's sometimes it's almost instantaneous. You're sitting here, you're thinking, okay, I need to get this special pair of scissors. And you call somebody and you say to them, I need this special pair of scissors. And they say, oh, I know a seamstress. You didn't have to go out on the streets looking for anybody. You could even go to the gas station and you're just exchanging banter with somebody. Hey, how are you doing? Love it that the weather is getting cooler. Yeah. And the person would just happen to mention the scissors you're looking for. Get plugged in. You're in sync. And so you experience a lot of synchronicities and coincidences. Even when you dream, you're still plugging into networks in your dream state. You would have lucid dreams, or you have these dreams where you're having these conversations about the thing you want. And by the time you wake up from that dream, you will know exactly what to do because you're plugged in. And what that translates to is authentic self confidence. And I'm not talking about the self confidence that comes from affirmations. I am beautiful. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I'm a billionaire. I'm a millionaire. No, you have a level of self confidence that lets you know that the problem is solved. And you don't have to worry about how or when. You just know that it's solved. And your mind can move on to other things and other issues. That is a goal, or should be a goal of your spirituality. That I'm able to look at a challenge and say, it is done. It is resolved. It is taken care of. I can go have another slice of cheesecake because it's no longer my problem. And you know that saying, when the student is ready, the master will appear. That statement now ends up having more significance for you. Why? Because you're always ready. You're always ready. Okay. So those are the 7 points. Those are the 7 points. So I would say ensure that your spirituality is structured and has objectives. Don't be sitting out there saying, oh, I'm a spiritual person. I'm spiritual. Look at my outfit. I'm wearing the outfit of the spiritual people. Look at my makeup. My makeup is the makeup of spiritual people. Oh, I talk like spiritual people. I know the buzzwords that spiritual people use. Thank you for the likes, Madlezi Babayo. That's not the point of spirituality. It's not the looks, it's not the performance. Because there are many of us out here who are concerned just with performance. You want to perform spirituality. You want people to look at you and say, oh, she is spiritual. Oh, I know Dr. Tochi. She is very spiritual. And if somebody says, well, how do you know that Dr. Tochi is spiritual? Oh, the way she talks. And she talks about these deep subjects, so therefore she must be spiritual. Oh, and she does this group invocations and zakat. And she gives these good lectures, and they're deep subjects. But then you look at Dr. Tochi, and Dr. Tochi has problems that she cannot solve, that she has no idea how to solve. Once she switches off the camera, she breaks down and falls to the ground, crying, "Oh my God, who is going to help me now?" Ah, ah. Develop your own spirituality. Learn how to embody your spirituality. When you are a spiritual person, you do not need to give your power away to anybody. You can still have a teacher, you can still have a guru, you can still have a baba, you can still have an iya, you can still have a mother, spiritual mother, you can still have a spiritual father, but you will know that the final authority, the final decision rests with you. because Dr. Tochi could be wrong. Baba could be wrong. My padrino could be wrong. My santera could be wrong. And even when they're right, you still have enough confidence to say, okay, this is the path I choose regardless. And anything that I see on that path, I am willing to take it, to accept it, and to deal with it. That is true spiritual sovereignty. You are the ruler of your own life, your destiny, your spirit, your everything. You are in charge. You are not helpless. You're not sitting there and going, oh God, why me? Why? Why not you? Why somebody else? Are you learning anything from what we're talking about tonight? Are you learning anything? Do you have any questions about what we're talking about? If you are supposed to claim a free prize from me and you haven't, it is up to you to email me and let me know. I can't chase after people to give them free gifts or free prizes. So, any questions? Any comments about tonight's topic? And while I'm waiting for that, just wanted to let you know I do have, oh, you're welcome, Audibee. I do have a workshop coming up, building and working your ancestral altar. It's coming up, I believe. Let me check the calendar. I believe it's coming up on the 19th. Yeah, it's coming up on the 19th of November. And I believe I'll have it. Yeah, I think it's 1 in the afternoon. In that workshop, we're going to put together an ancestral altar, and then perform an ancestral ritual on the altar that you put together. So that will be Wednesday, November 19th, which is 2 weeks from now. Yeah, about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks from now. So I do have an early bird special. After next Sunday, the price will go up. So I think right now we have it at 30. After Sunday, it goes up to 37. And I deliberately put it at that price point to make it available to as many people as possible. Many of you know that my workshops cost a lot more than that. But this is a foundation, one of the foundational skills that folks need to have. How to put together an altar. Because I know we talk about that a lot of times. Do you have an altar? Do you have an altar? Do you know how to put together an altar? How does your altar go? How do you work an altar? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to lead this and guide this, and we'll do it together. And it doesn't have to be huge. You can have a little itty bitty one, especially if you have space constraints or privacy constraints. You know, some people are living in circumstances that don't allow them to have a permanent altar. So I've put out the notice on my YouTube community page. Email me. My email is there. If you need more details, the payment link. I don't believe I've posted it yet on TikTok, and then, hopefully by tomorrow, I'll post it on my website. Oh, excuse me, but I just posted it on YouTube and Patreon today. Having an altar, you need to understand having an altar is a tool, and knowing how to use your altar is a spiritual skill not everybody knows how to use. Not everybody knows how to maintain it. Not everybody knows how to build it. Not everybody knows how to clean it, and so forth. It's a skill. And a lot of us don't have anyone to teach us how to do that. So that's why I'm doing this workshop. And it's going to be 2 hours on that Wednesday, November the 19th, 1 p.m. CST. So you might need to use Google to find out what the time equivalent will be in your neck of the woods. You can get a lot of comfort, personal comfort, from your ancestor altar. You can get a measure of protection, spiritual protection, at your ancestor altar. You can do a whole bunch of spiritual things, spiritual work at your ancestor altar. But you got to understand what needs to be on it and what doesn't need to be on it. So that's what we're going to be dealing with in that workshop, so that you'll be properly educated about it. So, what questions do you have, if any, about tonight's topic? The the seven goals you need to have for your spiritual life, for your spiritual practice. What questions do you have? We talked about visibility, being visible, being witnessed, being acknowledged, being validated. We talked about peace of mind. We talked about clarity, having clarity, being aware of the field in you and around you. We talked about having spiritual power. We talked about fulfilling life destiny. We talked about having boundaries and standards. And then we talked about being connected to physical and spiritual networks. Okay. It looks like there are no questions. It looks like there are no questions. Make sure you do have. Oh, thank you, Sneaks, for the hype beast. Appreciate you. So, I wish you all the best with your spiritual life and your spiritual endeavors. Don't feel that I have attained everything that there is to be attained. I haven't attained everything there is to attain. I'm working on mine just as you are working on yours. Okay. We're all in this thing together. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you have roughly about an hour of it because I spent about 30 minutes complaining, and then maybe about, yeah, and then part of that 30 minutes complaining and then talking about TikTok and their antics. So in reality, it's probably about an hour of material. Okay. Right. Start thinking about the ways you need to start owning your spiritual power. This is what will provide you with guidance and protection. This is what will connect you with your spiritual crew. This is what is going to wake you up. And in the world where we are today, where everybody is talking about everything, and people are even talking about stuff they have no idea about, it is your spiritual life and your spirit will let you discern that which is true from that which is untrue. Okay, we're doing the egg cleansing. Good. Be sure to try the other kinds of cleansing. There are many kinds of cleansing you can do. Make sure you're aware of them so that the days you don't find eggs, you can use something else. Make sure you have as many tools as possible in your toolkit so you're never caught unready. You are never caught unfresh. You know what I mean? All right. We're thankful to our Creator, our guardian spirits, our ancestors, and our spirit guides for our time together, for the forbidden fruit, for the sharing of knowledge, and for the bonds of spiritual family. We have a lot to be thankful for, and so we are thankful. Ashe. Isay, Kamaga, the Koza, Lasedi, Makwande, Ayababo, Iyanho, Obrigado, it is done, it is finished, it is complete. Amen, Ma'at. So thank you all for coming to class. I am just going to hydrate myself and lie down. I think I went a little bit overboard with the food this evening. I was like, I want to have some African food. And that I swear that thing is a natural sedative. I'm just barely holding on. So remember the workshop coming up on November the 19th, how to build and use your ancestral altar. Okay. It's not expensive at all. And I priced it just so that as many people as possible can attend it and learn firsthand. 2 hours, 2 hour workshop. We'll do it together. We'll construct it together, do a ritual on it together. And I will be available during those 2 hours to answer any and all questions you have about the ancestor altar. All right? Love you all. Have a great evening.